Hello, Retriever fans. Welcome in to the first installment of hopefully many installments. Catching up with Liam Bowen, head coach of UMBC Baseball. We'll recap the week that was before and preview the week ahead. But, Coach, first off, thanks for taking the time and joining me here today.
Oh, no, thanks for having me, Dave. Appreciate it.
So, I guess really to start things off, you got the season underway last weekend against Delaware State, a sweep. But it was almost a full year between games that you played. You guys played the last game that any UMBC team played before the pandemic shut everything down. For you and for the team, what was it like having to navigate through that, keeping everyone engaged and keeping them and keeping their spirits high?
Yeah, well, it was something we talked about, the day before the game that we had not played in 361 days, and that's the longest UMBC baseball had ever gone without playing a game. So I thought it was really important that in this particular weekend we really honored the program and the university with the effort and the focus that we had, and I was pretty pleased with that. I think for those 361 days, we've gotten a ton of value out of them, and it's for a lot of different reasons. And it first starts with the platform that we were given by the university, and in particular, like our sports medicine department. Like I think the university and our trainers, our staff, Stacy Carone and her group in sports medicine, Brian Barrio, our athletic director, the leadership he's had through all this, all the way up to Freeman Abrowski leading our university. Like everybody has just been outstanding in tackling this. Like there's a reason that we were able to take the field, with so much energy and enthusiasm. It's because a lot of the nitty gritty details have been handled so well by the people around us, and we just couldn't be more thankful for that. And I got to, name check also Megan Sullivan, our trainer, has been an absolute rock star. The whole testing protocol, they've made that really easy for us. So, our guys have been really focused. They've really grown together. They've worked really hard to be prepared when the curtain went up, and I think that showed this weekend. But it really starts with the support we've gotten. The support we've gotten has been outstanding.
And then obviously there's a lot of different changes this year as compared to previous years. Just talk about those changes that normally aren't there, and how you guys handle that on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's testing during the week, and there are things that happen. We've had players get a sore throat and they're out for multiple days so that they can get tested, and that's not a typical thing. But honestly, it's not crazy different. The schedule is different. The rhythm of the week is different, but it's all about just playing the hand we've been dealt on any particular day. Like today's our off day. We need to rest at a high level. Tomorrow we're going to take the field and get some skill work in, and we need to do that at a high level. This weekend when we play George Mason, we need to start fast. We need to play our style, and we need to fulfill those obligations. So, it's a cliche, but just taking it day by day is kind of how I think you're going to get anything accomplished as a team. And if we keep our focus kind of narrow on that, I think we're in good shape.
And then you guys did get things started this weekend to see a series sweep against Delaware State at home. Just kind of from you, just recap the weekend. A lot of runs were scored. The offense came out, but the pitching and the defense was there as well.
Yeah, I think we showed some promise kind of in all phases of the game at different times. I think, early in the season in our park can play pretty small when the wind is up, and it was at several points during the weekend, and we were able to capitalize on that offensively. I think overall, looking back on the weekend, I think it showed we got like I said, a ton of value out of our time off. We were able to really progress as a program. Like I think it's worth being encouraged about our team. I think it's clear that we've improved and we're on a good trajectory. I think we can even say that much after just one weekend. It's just going to be a matter of how consistent can we be, and when we get into the teeth of our schedule, are we going to have taken a nice step forward, or are we going to have taken a leap forward? And obviously we want the most progress possible. So I was encouraged with our guys overall. I thought they competed really joyfully and really energetically, across the whole series, and it'll give us a platform to build, but we definitely need to keep building.
And then you got two player of the weeks in the conference, Christian Torres getting player of the week and Joe Nestle getting pitcher of the week. Start with Christian. He's coming back, a redshirt senior, obviously had his traditional senior year cut short last year, but just talk about him and his impact that he's had on the program. And also moving him to first base this weekend was a little bit of a shock. I know for me, I'm sure for some fans, normally seeing him on the other side of the infield.
Sure, sure. Christian he's just an awesome story. I mean, he's the reason guys like him are the reason that the NCAA granted a fifth year to these seniors, from the 2020 season. And I'm just so proud that he's, chosen to capitalize on it by continuing to grow as a player and as a leader. I mean, he's always been a good player for us. He was rookie of the year in the conference the year we won our last conference title, and it was a big part of that team. But we've really challenged him this year to grow as a leader and to really kind of hold himself to a higher standard than he held himself to in the previous 4 years. He's always been, a big contributor. He's always been great to coach, super hard worker. I think this year he's using that more as a platform to affect the rest of the guys on the team, and I couldn't be prouder of him for taking that step. And I think it's going to be reflected in his play. I think he's, holding himself to those standards has just only made him better for us. And moving him to first base, he's such a gifted defender within his range. If something is near him, he generally catches it, and he's an IQ player that makes a lot of good decisions over there. So I thought it was a natural fit for him, and definitely anticipate him kind of being the glue in the infield. Already made a couple nice picks for us in this series, so I think he's off to a good start, and a guy we're absolutely going to count on.
And then Joe getting pitcher of the week, one of the relatively new guys to the roster in the past couple of years. Just talk about the growth that you've seen in him, and then also the growth of this pitching staff. A really good weekend, like you said, this past weekend.
Yeah, we're getting better. We have more ground to cover. I think we got to continue to be more aggressive in the strike zone out of our bullpen. But I thought our starters were really good. Very trustworthy group. That obviously includes Joe, and Joe's just a genuine competitor. He's not a guy who tailors his level of intensity to the situation. I mean, the way he pitched this weekend, the way he pitches in inter squads, it's the way he throws his side sessions, it's the way he pitched, I'm sure, when he was 12 years old. He's a guy whose competitive spirit, I think, really sets him apart from the average guy. And I think that was on full display this weekend. He has pretty good stuff too. I think he's really, in particular, refined his breaking ball over the course of the winter and preseason to the point where it was always pretty good, but I think it's going to be an even bigger weapon for him. And he got some defensive swings on that. And if we can keep him pitch efficient and get him to get some early outs, I think he's going to be a big contributor for us. I think that's pretty clear.
And then kind of just to kind of preview the season. I know we didn't really have a traditional preview of the season. Season already started, but talk about the new guys to the team. One guy, Christian Easley, coming in, a transfer, starting in center field this weekend, a guy that has a lot of power at the plate, but also a good defender as well. But just kind of talk as a whole about this new group of guys that came in for this year.
Yeah, well, we're excited about them, and I think our returners are excited about them because they see how seamlessly they fed in from a mentality standpoint. That's the first thing. I mean, we have some good players, but it's really about guys who are all here for the same reason. And the big thing that we've really focused on from a recruiting standpoint is finding people that are trustworthy. People that you can trust with the kind of opportunity that we have here, people that you can trust on and off the field as a competitor, in the classroom, in the community. And a guy like Easley fits that for sure. Is super trustworthy guy who's really growth oriented. He's a really explosive athlete, but's really taking on the challenge of trying to round out his game. He bunted for a hit this weekend, which was something that maybe, he wasn't comfortable with in junior college. So really encouraged with him and a lot of the new guys. I think it was kind of his time to shine this weekend. His first swing went out of the yard, and that's special. But I think we have a lot of new guys who are going to be big contributors for us. And I think it just comes back to, their character, their trustworthiness, and then the mentality that they've shown the past few months.
And then we already touched on Christian Torres as one of the key returners, but you got guys like Dimitri Floyd and Ryan Brown coming back. A lot of these guys that have been with the program for multiple years. Talk about them and what they bring to this program, especially in a year like this year.
Yeah, and you said it. This is a year where you have to be, I think, more connected and just believe in your players more than any other year that I've ever coached. And two of the guys you mentioned, and a ton of the returners we have, really all of them, have shown themselves worthy of that belief. And I think guys like Brian, guys like Dimitri, I can name a number of others. I think they really help establish standards for us. And one of the standards this year is we're going to prioritize each other. We're going to do what it takes to get on the field and stay on the field. And the guys have been awesome for that. I haven't had, a minute's pause about our guys and their commitment to just making this season a successful one, because I'm not a big goal setter. Like at the beginning of the year, I don't say, oh, we want to do this, we want to do that from like an on-field standpoint. My whole thing is I just want our guys to be the best competitors in the conference. And being the best competitor this year means making good choices off the field, making sure we're always getting to testing, making sure that we're always wearing our masks, making sure that we're doing the things that it takes. And if that's the field of competition for us this year, like we didn't choose it, but we'll compete on it. So our veterans have done a really good job of establishing that for us. And I'm definitely thankful for those guys in this group.
And then you also have a couple of new coaches on the staff with you. Kind of talk about them and what they bring to this program and how they'll help.
Well, yeah, and one of the guys returning, I should mention, Ryan Terrell, our hitting coach and recruiting coordinator. I thought, he obviously had his hitters ready to go this weekend. We scored a bunch of runs, and I thought in general the approach and the command of the strike zone was really good, and it wore down our opponent in a way that that's something that's a goal of ours, something we want to do every series. I think any team wants to do that. So we were successful there, and I think it goes back to Coach Terrell's work, but. Matt Marsh has come onto our staff. He's working with our infielders and catchers. He's really impactful and been super effective in those areas, but he does a ton of stuff. He's kind of been the guts of our coaching staff, just doing a ton of stuff. I was going to say in the office. We're not in the office. So virtually in the office. It really hit the ground running and been an easy fit just because of his work ethic and, the kind of the shared values that we have. And then we're in such a fortunate situation because we have Ryan's dad, Terry Terrell, on staff, who is the winningest high school coach in the history of our state. And he's there to mentor our players, but he's there to mentor me too. Like there's a lot that I can learn from him. He was a head coach for 42 years. I've been a head coach for not a full season yet. So, I learn from him every day, and I just appreciate that he's still spending his time giving back to guys like me and to our players. And, we benefit from his wisdom quite a bit. So it's been a nice balance. And I think, the one thing I can say about the weekend, even though there are some areas where I think we definitely need to grow and we're far from a finished product, I think we were absolutely ready to play. There's no question in my mind, or I think anybody in our team's mind. And, that really starts with our assistants. So they've done a really good job getting the guys ready.
And this year, the schedule looks a little different. No midweek games for you guys as normal. But the conference schedule every weekend now moving to 4 games, 2 doubleheaders on Saturday, Sunday. Just kind of talk about that new change and the new style for the conference schedule and what that will do for you as a coach having to plan for those doubleheaders both days now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge physically, mentally. Two doubleheaders back to back are tough. They're pretty grueling. I think my job, because I'm the guy who's planning, how our team operates. My job is to just be really mindful of keeping our players' tanks full. We've really kind of tweaked how we practice. We've given them some extended time off earlier in the week, where we might not do as much in a typical year with midweek games. But we're just trying to take it as an opportunity. I mean, like I said before, like we don't necessarily choose how we get to compete. We just need to be ready to compete. And if they're going to, crown a champion at the end of the year for who deals the best with this schedule, then we're going to commit ourselves to it. So, my job is to try and be creative and make sure the guys are ready and make sure we take the field, on full gas. And the guys' job is going to be to kind of find a way of playing where we can maintain our focus and maintain our energy across 32 innings and just a little over, 24 hours each weekend, which is going to be a challenge. But I'm excited to take it on with this group. I mean, like I said, these guys have been trustworthy. They've worked. They've gotten themselves ready. They're a fun group to coach. So whatever they put in front of us, I'm glad I'm with them, and we'll take it on.
And then kind of wrap things up, you guys got a bunch of games this weekend. Friday, going down to George Mason for a game, then coming home to play St. Bonaventure for 2 on Saturday, and then again against George Mason at home on Sunday. Just kind of preview the weekend, a lot of games in a short amount of time, and with traveling down to George Mason and then back for games the next day.
Sure. Well, for one thing, we're just thrilled to be playing. So, whatever it takes to get on the field is fine with us. A couple of Atlantic 10 teams, that I know are going to be well coached and have talented players. We've played George Mason, I think most years that I've been here, fairly familiar with their program, kind of recruit in the same area generally. St. Bonaventure, we're less familiar with. It's the first time we've played St. Bonaventure in my time at UMBC. But one of the things these days is there's so much video, and your ability to be ready for opponents is it kind of almost doesn't even matter who you're playing. You can always find information on them. So that's no challenge. We'll be aware of what their capabilities are, but mostly we're just going to be focused on playing our style. We talk a lot as coaches about there's a difference between being familiar with your opponent, aware of your opponent, and then starting to change what you do to your opponent, which is not what we want to do. We think we have a style that works, and when we execute it, we think we're hard to beat. So that's what we're going to try and do, and that's a big enough challenge too. Like our game is hard to play, so whoever we get the privilege to compete against, that's what we're trying to do. It's not something that we necessarily tailor to each opponent.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. Good luck this weekend.
Yep. Thanks, Dave. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. So the Retrievers are back in action Friday at George Mason. Then they're back home against St. Bonaventure on Saturday for a doubleheader, and then Sunday against George Mason at home. The games on Saturday, Sunday will be on Ameriquise TV. You can get the links at umbcretrievers.com. Keep up to date with UMBC Baseball on Twitter at UMBC Baseball.